Sole Invictus. Julia Domna, daughter of Julius Bassianus, the priest-king of Emesa, who was descended from Gaius Julius Alecto, the son of Sahaemus of Emesa and Drusilla of Mauritania, married Roman Emperor Septimius Severus, 145 to 211 AD, founding the Severan dynasty that ruled the Roman Empire between 193 and 235, during the Roman imperial period. In approximately 217 AD, Philostratus composed the life of Apollonius at the request of Julia Domna, who possessed documents belonging to Dames of Nineveh, a disciple and companion of Apollonius of Tyana. Septimius Severus was succeeded by his son Caracalla, 188 to 217 AD. But, in 217 AD, Caracalla was killed and Macrinus, c. 165 to 218, ascended to the imperial throne. His cousin, Julia Soaemias, the daughter of Julia Domna's sister, Julia Maesa, would not allow the usurper to stand unopposed. Together with her mother Julia, she plotted to substitute Macrinus with her son, Marcus Aurelius Antoninus, who appropriated the name Elagabalus. In 218 AD, Macrinus was killed, and Elagabalus, c. 204–222 AD, became emperor. Elagabalus replaced Jupiter, head of the Roman pantheon, with the cult of Sole Invictus, which was harmonized with the cult of Mithras. Herodian, c. 170, c. 240, relates that Elagabalus forced senators to watch while he danced around his deity's altar to the sound of drums and cymbals, and at each summer solstice celebrated a great festival. 81 Herodian's description strongly suggests that the cult of Emesa was inspired by the Babylonian Akitu festival. 82 Their rule was not popular, and soon discontent arose, as Elagabalus developed a reputation among his contemporaries for eccentricity, decadence, and zealotry. Elagabalus was succeeded by his cousin, Severus Alexander, 208 to 235 AD, the last Roman emperor of the Severan dynasty. Alexander and Elagabalus were both grandsons of Julia Maesa, the sister of Empress Julia Domna. Severus Alexander's death by his own troops in 235 erupted the crisis of the 3rd century, a period in which the Roman Empire nearly collapsed under a series of rebellions. By 268, the Roman Empire split into 3 competing states: Roman Empire proper, the Gallic Empire and the Pomeranian Empire, which encompassed the Roman provinces of Syria Palestina, Arabia Petrea, and Egypt, as well as large parts of Asia Minor. The Pomeranian Empire was ruled by another descendant of the priest-kings of Emesa, Queen Zenobia, c. 240, c. 274 AD, also a descendant of Gaius Julius Alecto officially as regent for her son Vabalatius, who inherited the throne in 267. Saint Athanasius, Bishop of Alexandria, c. 328 to 373, reported her as being a Jewish follower of Paul of Samosata. 83 Paul of Samosata, the capital of Commagene, was known as a Judaizer, and Saint Athanasius also accused him of wanting to introduce Judaism into Christianity. But Paul of Samosata's Jewish influence was of a heretical variety, and likely derived from the Kabbalah, as he inspired the Gnostic sect of the Polychians, who believed in a distinction between the God who created and governs the material world, and the God of heaven who created souls, and who alone should be worshipped, in other words, Lucifer. Therefore, like all Gnostic sects before them, they thought all matter to be corrupt. For the Polychians, Christ was an angel sent into the world by their God. Jesus' real mother was not the Virgin Mary, but the heavenly Jerusalem, an idea derived from the Shekinah of the Kabbalah. Because they claimed that Jesus taught that only to believe in him saves men from judgment, their enemies accused them constantly of gross immorality, even at their prayer meetings. Emperor Aurelian, 214 to 275, whose reign lasted from 270 AD until his death, and whose successes were instrumental in ending the crisis of the 3rd century following his victory over the Pomeranian Empire, thoroughly reformed the Roman cult of Sol, elevating the sun god to one of the premier divinities of the empire. Aurelian dedicated a large temple to Sol Invictus in Rome, bringing the total number of temples for the god in Rome to at least 4. Most scholars consider the cult to be of Syrian origin, either a continuation of the cult of Sol Invictus Elagabalus, or Malakbal, angel of Bel, of Palmyra, as Malakbal was frequently identified with the Roman god Sol and bore the epithet Invictus. 84 Where until then priests of Sol had been simply sacerdotes and tended to belong to lower ranks of Roman society, they were now pontifices and a member of the senatorial elite. 85. The Creed of Jesus as Son and God was finally formalized and instituted as an orthodox tenet at the Council of Nicaea, which was personally summoned by Constantine on 325 AD. Constantine was the last in a long line of rulers belonging to the Mithraic bloodline, and a descendant of Septimius Severus. When Constantine made Christianity the official religion of the empire, he completed the project incepted by Herod the Great, to subvert the emerging Christian movement by corrupting it into disguised Mithras worship. The worship of Sol Invictus was continued by Constantine, who some think never converted to Christianity. In 321, Constantine instructed that Christians and non-Christians should be united in observing the venerable day of the sun, Sunday, referencing the sun worship that Aurelian had established as an official cult. Constantine's coinage continued to carry the symbols of the sun. Even when Constantine dedicated the new capital of Constantinople, he did so wearing the Apollonian sun-rayed diadem. Genealogy of the priest-kings of Emesa. Mithridates III of Commagene plus Princess Iotapa of Media Atropatene. aka II of Commagene plus Thrasylus of Mendes, astrologer and a personal friend of the Roman Emperor Tiberius. Unnamed daughter plus ex Lucius Ennius. Ennia Thrasilla plus Navius Sutorius Macro. Tiberius Claudius Balbulus, court astrologer to the Roman emperors Claudius, Nero, and Vespasian, plus unknown. Claudia Capitolina plus Gaius Julius Archelaus Antiochus Epiphanes, see below. Antiochus III of Commagene plus Iotapa, his sister. Antiochus IV of Commagene plus Princess Iotapa of Commagene, full-blooded sister. Gaius Julius Archelaus Antiochus Epiphanes plus Claudia Capitolina, from a distinguished family. Only child of astrologer Tiberius Claudius Balbulus. Philopappos, friends with the Emperor Trajan and Trajan's heir and second paternal cousin Hadrian. Julia Balbilla, poet and personal friend to Emperor Hadrian and the Empress Vibia Sabina, plus Gaius Julius Archelaus Antiochus Epiphanes. Julia Iotapa plus Gaius Julius Alexander. Gaius Julius Agrippa plus Fabia. Lucius Julius Ganius Fabius Agrippa. Gaius Julius Alexander Berenicinus plus Cassia Lepida. Julia Cassia Alexandra plus Gaius Avidius Heliodorus. Avidius Cassius plus Volusia Vetia Mesiana. Julia Iotapa, Cilician princess. Iotapa plus Sampsis Aramus II of Emesa, son of Sampsis Aramus I, founding priest-king of Emesa. Iotapa plus Aristobulus the Younger, grandson of Herod the Great. Julia Mammia plus Polemon II of Pontus. Polemon. Rheomdalces. Gaius Julius Azizus. Saha Emus of Emesa plus Drusilla of Mauritania the Younger, daughter of Cleopatra and Antony. Gaius Julius Alexian plus Claudia Piso. Gaius Julius Sampsigeramus, 3. Silas plus Claudia Capitolina Balbilla. Gaius Julius Longinus Soemus plus daughter of Abgar 7. Julius, noble, of Emissa. Tiberius Julius, noble, of Emissa. Iamblicius, noble, of Emissa. Gaius Julius Sulpicius, priest king of Emissa. Uranius Antoninus, rival emperor of Rome. Julius Aurelius, rival emperor of Rome. Iamblicius, Neoplatonist philosopher. Julius of Emissa plus unknown. Gaius Julius Bassianus. Julia Domna plus Emperor Septimius Severus. Emperor Caracalla plus Fulvia Plautilla. Emperor Geta, Caracalla tried unsuccessfully to murder him during the Saturnalia. Bassina plus Claudius Gothicus. Claudius Gothicus plus Aurelia Pompeiana. Claudia Crispina plus Eutropius. Constantius Chlorus plus Saint Helena, daughter of old King Cole according to both Geoffrey of Monmouth and Henry of Huntingdon. Constantine the Great. Julia Mysa plus Gaius Julius Avitus Alexianus. Julia Soemius Bassiana plus Sextus Varius Marcellus. Emperor Elagabalus, head priest of the sun god Elagabal. Severus Alexander, adoptive. Julia Avita Mammia plus Malchus II, governor of Palmyra, see below. Julia Avita Mammia plus Marcus Julius Gessius Marcianus. Emperor Severus Alexander, Julia Mammia asked for Origen to tutor Alexander in Christianity. Marcus Julius Gessius Bassianus. Mammia of Emissa plus Malik, governor of Palmyra. Zenobius, governor of Palmyra. Claudius Julius Nassispicum, governor of Palmyra. Malchus I, governor of Palmyra. Malchus II, governor of Palmyra plus Julia Avita Mammia, see above. Julius Aurelius Zenobius plus Zabii, of Arabia. Zenobia, queen of the Pomeranian Empire in Syria, patron of Paul of Samosata, founder of Polysianism. Immediately before his victory at the Battle of Milvian Bridge, in 312 AD, Constantine is said to have had a vision of a radiant cross suspended in the sky, upon which was inscribed, "By this sign you will conquer." In response, Constantine ordered the shields of his troops emblazoned with the Christian monogram, known as the labarum, a wheel-shaped sign formed by the first two letters of the word Christos, and X, chi, placed in front of P, rho, the Greek letters chi rho. The letter chi was used by the Greeks as a solar symbol, and the abbreviation of the Greek name for Saturn, Chronos, as was the wheel-shaped sign formed by the first two letters combined, and X, chi, placed in front of P, rho. 86 In Plato's Timaeus, chi symbolizes the intersection of the earthly and celestial equators, the wheel inside a wheel of Ezekiel's vision and the leontocephalus of Mitraism. This passage in the Timaeus, known as the Psychogonia, was the source of much comment by the Neoplatonists and others, and Justin Martyr in his Apologia, considered that Plato interpreted his chi from the brazen serpents that Moses had erected as a sign in the form of a cross. 87. The only explicit reference to a celebration of Sol in late December is made by Constantine's nephew Roman Emperor Julian, 331/332, 363, called by Christians the Apostate, in his hymn to King Helios, written immediately afterwards in early AD 363. In 361, Julian defied the Christianization begun by Constantine, and issued edicts that favored Roman cults and minimized the influence of Christianity, believing it necessary to restore the empire's ancient Roman values and traditions in order to save it from decline. In the hymn to King Helios, which was inspired by the worship of Mithras, Julian tells Sallust to read the writings of Iamblicius, another descendant of the priest kings of Emissa. Julian was also an ardent devotee of the Mithraic mysteries, to which he had been introduced by the philosopher Maximus of Ephesus. To Julian, Mithras was the sun and one and the same with Apollo, Phaethon, Hyperion, and Prometheus. 88 To his god he dedicated his hymn to Helios, and introduced the cult to Constantinople, when simultaneously, the first Taurobalia were celebrated at Athens. Referring to the Chaldean oracles, Julian mentions the following, in what is generally regarded as one of his few allusions to the doctrine of the Mithraic mysteries, and if I should also touch on the secret teachings of the mysteries in which the Chaldean, divinely frenzied, celebrated the God of the seven rays, that God through whom he lifts up the souls of men, I should be saying what is unintelligible, yet wholly unintelligible to the common herd, but familiar to the happy theurgists. 89. Julian's support of Jews caused them to refer to him as Julian the Hellene. 90 In 363, not long before he left Antioch to launch his campaign against Persia, in keeping with his effort to oppose Christianity, Julian allowed the Jews to rebuild their temple in Jerusalem. The point was to invalidate Jesus' prophecy about its destruction in 70 AD, which Christians had cited as proof of the truth of Jesus' mission. Temple would revive the cult of sacrifice that had long been part of the Roman world while pagans ruled. In what the Christians perceived as a miracle, a great fire and earthquake destroyed the temple's foundations, bringing the project to an end, and for centuries afterwards was believed to be proof of Jesus' divinity. 91.